This is Football Primetime. I'm your host, Bill Dean. Of course, I'm here with my co-host, AJ. Brought to you by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Samu. I am behind the glass producing today. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple, and Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Please go on, subscribe. Leave any comments, likes. We'll go to check it out very often. We appreciate all the feedback and love. Also, hit us up on Facebook Live, like I said, and let us know any questions you have. AJ, I gotta admit, Sunday sucked, right? And not because the Jets lost. They obviously,
lost.
I mean, that game sucks. Not because the Jets didn't, because the Jets, didn't lose. I should have said sorry. They obviously won 16-9. The way the game went, obviously, it wasn't a great overall. It was a great defensive win. Offense struggled. You could see that they just couldn't move the ball against a very good Denver Broncos defense, by the way. So I want to give credit to the Denver Broncos defense, but it sucked because the aftermath is something that I wasn't expecting, and it's not good for the Jets. They lose Breece Hall, their offensive. Really, they're the linchpin on the offense. Someone that can rush the ball, receiving yards. He's seventh in the NHL in all-purpose yards for really any running back or wide receiver combined.
NHL?
Did I say NHL?
Yeah.
Man, I am all over the place. NFL, that stinks. And he goes out with a torn ACL. But actually, I think the bigger loss is Elijah Vera Tucker, out for the season, triceps injury. And, Breece, everybody loves him because obviously he's dynamic and, offensive weapon. The betting favorite for Rookie of the Year, all these things. But Vera Tucker, with all the injuries they've had on this offensive line, he's been the steady constant on this team.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's out with a torn triceps now. He's going to be done for the season. He was playing left tackle, guard, right tackle. He played everything, and he was all pro level. And this team is so banged up on the offensive line that this is the guy they couldn't have afforded to lose, even more so than Breece.
Yeah, I mean, both stink, right? Obviously, Vera Tucker, the offensive line, right, is, I think it's been doing really well the past couple of weeks, and to lose somebody like him is a killer, right, to the offense. Obviously losing Breece Hall and what he's done, is not something to take lightly. But you have at least somebody in Michael Carter, and we can get to some quick trade talks of the Jets apparently making a deal for James Robinson, giving up a 6th round pick, and then there's conditions it could be a 5th, which I don't mind seeing that. I think Robinson is a good running back. I think he's a guy that kind of got not a fair shake. At this last half of the year, last half of last year, with Etienne and all that stuff. I think he's proven himself to be a pretty good running back. But yeah, I mean, both hurt. Losing somebody like Hall and Vera Tucker, and you just. The Jet mentality, right, that they've had is the next man up, and everything like that. So, you hope that they can do something if they can, keep on going, kind of like the way they have. It'll be interesting to see how kind of the season turns now, right, with losing 2 key guys in their offense. Because the running game is the strong suit of this team right now, right? The running game and the defense are the 2 things that are moving us along. Wilson hasn't looked. He's looked like a game manager, since his return. I don't think he's done anything necessarily to put the Jets in harm's way. But he hasn't made those. Yeah, he hasn't made those passes, those plays that you want from your 2nd overall pick. The guy that's leading your team. Hopefully the franchise quarterback, right? So you need him to step up. You need the passing game to step up. In kind of this absence of Hall, and we'll see what happens. I'm still hopeful. I still think that the Jets could be a playoff team. If they keep playing defensively, how they are. I mean, Sauce Gardner, I think is absolutely a monster. And Reed on the other end, right? I don't think he's gotten much
Yeah,
credit.
exactly.
That he's played, but he's played lights out as well. This defense is playing great. Especially with not having Jermaine Johnson right in this week. I think the offense, obviously, right. Losing Hall was a little bit of a backbreaker. In terms of kind of the game that the way it started. But I think the Jets this year have put up the most points, I think, against Denver.
Yeah,
So
that's
far.
crazy.
So it's crazy too. Losing somebody like your talented rookie running back who was looking like a rookie of the year type candidate. And yeah, I mean we'll see how everything goes. We'll see what happens. I obviously hope that Bear Tucker and Hall make great recoveries. The big thing you worry about with ACL injuries, right, is usually the guy isn't right the first year coming back. From an ACL injury, usually takes him a year or two to really get to the strength. If you look at people like Saquon, like his injury, right, he wasn't
Yeah.
at full strength that next year coming back. Obviously, there was a little bit of injuries there too. Same thing with J.K. Dobbins right now, right? You see that he's out for another couple of weeks because they're doing some repair on his knee.
Yeah, knee scope.
From
Yep.
that ACL injury and stuff like that. So, I hope for a full recovery. Guys that have had those ACL injuries have come back strong. I always point to Adrian Peterson, right, and how he came back strong from his ACL injury and
Yeah.
everything he did there that following year. So we'll see. It's not a career-ending sentence by all means. So hopefully Hall can come back stronger and they just can continue their miraculous season. I will say right now, but tough stretch coming down the line right now.
Just quickly, Chicago Bears, Patriots are on Monday Night Football, 14-10. New England, Stevenson just had a touchdown run. It's amazing. Bailey Zappi's in the game. It is second quarter. He throws a 30-yard bomb to Jacoby Myers for his touchdown, and then Justin Fields with the 3-yard run. So 14-10. But all right, back to a couple quick points on the Jets. Overall, fine, the trade. You get someone that can rush the ball in James Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good ad. They give up a conditional 6 that could turn to a 5th if depending on how good he is with the Jets. So fine, great, wonderful. The issue that I have is if Elijah Vera Tucker's out for the year, so that same ground and pound, you're continually losing your top linemen that are really creating these holes. Dwayne Brown had a not so great game after losing Vera Tucker. The whole line just kind of dipped. So I don't know where the rushing lanes are going to be with this team. And, I just don't think it's going to be the same type of rushing offense with Hall versus Robinson, especially with Vera Tucker out. I thought that Michael Carter could have been a guy you could use in scat back situations and then, kind of relying on Johnson as your power rusher. That's obviously not going to happen. You're going to have Robinson. He's going to be a premier, he's going to be their number one guy, and Carter will just be the same kind of role he's had.
Yeah.
Mike LaFleur needs to change his offense. And I think that he needs to go and he needs to put, hopefully this kid can do it. Wilson can do this, but it's no longer ground and pound because I don't think they have the pieces anymore. I really think that their offensive line is so depleted that they're not going to be able to get the push that they would normally. So I think they need to go ahead and make Wilson the focal point of this offense. And you need to gun it, and you need to have Elijah Moore get his head out of his ass and stop asking for trades and go out there and run routes and catch the football and make plays. And if you don't get the ball, come right back to the huddle and wait for the next play.
Yeah.
And you need Corey Davis, who you paid a shit ton of money to be a number one receiver. You need Garrett Wilson to show what he can be, and maybe he's the new Rookie of the Year candidate that the Jets have. And you
Yeah.
need, you're passing out of the backfield, Michael Carter to get out there and in the flats, and you need Zach Wilson to become the quarterback you're looking for, because I think that this offense has to change. I don't think it could be the same thing with Hall versus Robinson, and especially because of the line. The defense has played awesome. Sauce Gardner, you said it. He's defensive rookie of the year right now. The Jets had offensive and defensive rookie of the year top candidates.
Crazy.
And
Crazy.
as a Jet fan, you're so happy. And I had the mentality going to the show, same old Jets. And not because they're losing. Obviously they're playing so well and the whole team's kind of rallied and I feel so good. But just the stupid, dumb luck. Going into last week, you had Elijah Moore talk about a trade when they're winning. You have a guy that comes in and the team's doing awesome, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I'm not getting the ball. I want out of here." What the F? Like, could you be any more Jet-esque? And it makes Elijah Moore look like a jerk and good, because hopefully, immaturity and hopefully that was a big, shining moment to him that, like, hey, I've been in the league for 1.5 years. I have 700 plus total yards to my name. Where do I get to dictate at all that I'm good enough to get the ball? So that was one thing.
I do get it though from
it sucks, sure.
From a business standpoint, right? He's got to look for his next contract, kind of thing. He's making.
But he's only second year. He's got 4 years.
I agree. I agree 100%. And from the fan wise, I agree. It's BS, right? That he's demanding a trade, being a second year player. His team's winning. Contribute, right? That's what we want, right? But I also understand
you're not Drake London, some first round draft pick that has all this hoopla, or even last year, who was a number one pick or 2 years ago, wide receiver. Now I'm blanking on who was taken in the 2021 NFL draft for wide receivers. But you're not this number one guy that comes in the league and you're expecting tons of play. You're essentially, and I should have mentioned Jamar Chase. Obviously, that would have been the perfect choice. You're not this guy that comes in and you should automatically demand the ball and you're the number one target. You're the second, maybe third option, because Garrett Wilson was a first round pick. You paid so much money to Corey Davis. You don't deserve anything. But go ahead. Sorry, I know you cut your point.
No, but I do get it from the player standpoint, right? Is you have this short window of making money, of making millions, right? Potentially.
Yeah.
Not only from the contract, but from the endorsements and all that stuff. So I can understand his frustration of not getting the ball and it being a business decision. His loyalty doesn't necessarily lie with the team, right? It's in his next contract, which is unfortunate. Yeah. But I do get that point from him. That all being said, as a fan, shut up, just play.
Yeah.
Be happy that your team's winning. You can still contribute, right? You saw what happened to Hall, right? We're gonna have to potentially, seeing how Robinson
sling the ball
mingles with the team. Yeah, you're gonna have to sling the ball. You're in a prime position to get more targets. So, we'll see what happens this week with him, and if he does rejoin the team, or if the Jets do try to, trade him for something. They better get. I'm saying if they do even attempt it, they better
second round pick.
Yes, that's what
I
want.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a complete another disaster of how you handled it.
Listen, they didn't trade Denzel Mims, and he asked for a trade, and they were looking for like a 4th round pick, and they said, you're better off on our roster, so we'll worry about you in the offseason. We're going to keep you. They're going to do the same thing. They're not going to trade him. He's too valuable to them, and he's going to be with the Jets for at least probably 4 years, and you just gotta deal with it and stop being a baby, and that's all it is to it, I think. We talk about the defense. Sauce playing awesome. DJ Reed was fantastic. The safeties have played well. Whitehead's starting to turn it around a little bit. Your linebackers are traveling the ball, and your defensive line, the rotation of 10 guys is getting it done in the trenches. So that's good. All right. Quickly, some other news. Colts benching Matt Ryan. I got to say I was shocked. Sam Ellinger from Texas is going to start the rest of the way. I know he had a bad game, but this is a guy you paid a second round pick for, um, and he hasn't been great. But I'm a little shocked this close to the start of the season. Only 7 games, 6, 7 games. What was your thoughts?
I
I know
I,
he's
I
the shoulder
think
separation technically.
I think it's the decision, right? You're still within arm's length
Yeah.
of that division, right? Obviously, you're in a little bit of a hole, that you lost 2 games to the Titans already. Um, but they're only 1 game back well, 2 games. Well, I guess 2 games back technically, but
Is
they're
is
still
Sam
right there.
Ellinger really the person you think can get you there?
I
He
just
was
think the way that
stunk at
Ryan
Texas.
I just think the way that Ryan has played, he doesn't give you
Yeah,
anything with his legs. Maybe Ellinger, right? Being the younger guy, a little bit more mobile, maybe has a chance to spark this team. And let's be honest, right? It's this team is built off of the run game. They
yeah,
need Jonathan
yeah,
Taylor to be Jonathan Taylor. He hasn't been it. I know he's been a little banged up here and there this year already, but I mean, the guy hasn't been what he was last year. I think that's a killer for them, especially because when you can run the ball the way he does, it sets up the play action and goes from there. So I don't necessarily
yeah.
mind the move. I think it's smart. I think the bigger controversy right now is what we're seeing in the Patriots Bears game with
Well,
Zappy
yeah.
taking over for Mac.
There's already tons of
Um,
memes about this. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Matt Ryan quickly 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 24 sacks, 11 fumbles, 3 lost. He's last in all interceptions, sacks, and fumbles. Yeah, I mean, this team is probably the biggest disappointment to me. The Indianapolis Colts. I thought they were going to win the division. I thought that he would be the spark, and I'm hoping this means a big, boon for Michael Pittman, who they have not utilized to the extent that he
No.
like. That's someone who should be pissed off and want to trade, because clearly he's that talented. He's the number one. He deserves to be a number one, and he's it's been pretty shoddy for him. Speaking of wide receivers, DK Metcalf, who was out, got carted off the field in the Seahawks victory. He won't need knee surgery, which is really good. That's kind of something I was hoping the
Yeah.
Jets would have with Hall, but good for DK and the Seahawks. Did you see that thing about the NFL? The one more receiver. They're looking at the refs that were seeking a Mike Evans autograph at the end of the
Oh,
game.
yeah. At the end of the
I
game.
mean, not
It's
good.
it's
Not a good
it's
look.
weird. It's weird.
Yeah, but that's not a
But
good look.
I will say though, it's not like clearly, right, the outcome of the game didn't, have
Yeah.
any
Well, they
the calls
lost.
and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying is like the
Yeah,
outcome of the game didn't really, but yeah, I mean it's not necessarily a good look. I didn't actually know
that's
that
yeah,
fans couldn't ask for like
yeah. Refs can't
signings
ask.
or whatever,
Yeah.
which is I get that, right? But it's still a little,
Yeah.
little
Playing
interesting.
favoritism. Yeah.
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 But I mean, it could just be like
Um.
just like one of those at the end of the games, right? Where you see players trade jerseys and stuff like that. What's really like? I get it from a
Well, it's
referee
players
standpoint
are
for any major
competing.
sport. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just not a
But
good
yeah,
look.
agreed.
Uh.
Say
Going to go ahead.
speaking of that game, how
Yes.
terrible is Tampa Bay?
Tom Brady. I mean, Mike Evans had 96 yards. Tom Brady, overall counting stats, he had 290. Um, Bucks dropped to 500, under 500, which Tom Brady hasn't been in this position in 2 decades. You came back, you getting divorced from your supermodel wife, and you then lose to the Carolina Panthers, who are 2-5. They have some of the worst luck right now. They have, they traded their All-Pro running back. It's bad. It's really bad. You can't lose to Carolina, and this team. There's a bunch of teams we'll talk about. Well, actually, let's just talk about it now. Tampa at 3-4.
Mhm. Yep.
Right, Tampa's 3-4. Yeah, sorry, Tampa 3-4.
Yep.
Green Bay 3-4.
Yeah.
Indianapolis 2-5. And there was one other big shocking loss, or not shocking, but one other big loss where obviously Denver, but crud. Who was I looking at? The Chargers. Um,
Yep.
do you think? And San Fran had a tough loss to KC. I mean, they're so good, and I don't
Yeah.
know, that's a Super Bowl contender. They're 3-4 now, so I don't know how much you can really take from that, other than they just lost to a really good team. But are you scared about all four of these teams? Chargers 4-3, but you were expecting them to really kind of blow away this division, other than the Chiefs. I know we talked about how good the rest of the division is with
Yep.
LA Raiders, who are 1-5, by the way. Or sorry, Las Vegas Raiders, who are 2-5, by the way. And then
2-4.
2-4, sorry, and then because they had the bye, and then blah, 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 Broncos at
Broncos.
2-5. Um, how worried are you? Or rank your worriedness for all four of these teams. Who's the best of those four? Who's the worst?
So I would say, I think, well, I'll caveat this with I still think the Chargers are the top of those four teams.
Yep.
The Mike Williams injury, depending on how severe it is, I didn't
Yeah.
see anything today, but
I didn't either.
um, we'll see. And we might have missed it, but I think depending on that severity, right? I still
Oh,
think they
lost him for
are.
weeks. Mike Williams out for weeks. J.C. Jackson out for the season. But J.C. Jackson wasn't playing very well. But he's still the guy they paid a crud ton of money to be their top corner.
I still think the Chargers, the way that Herbert can play and having the dynamic, players in Keenan Allen, finally getting a little bit healthy. You have Austin Eckler, obviously losing your second guy in Williams, for a couple of weeks, losing J.C. Jackson too. Um, I still think that they are the best, out of the four teams. I will then put the 49ers, in the not worry bucket just because of that trade they just made for McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to give him a few weeks, and I mean, I think in his debut he looked pretty good
Yeah.
for the limited snaps that he had and plays. Um, so I think those teams will be all right. I think they will be in contention for a playoff spot. I think the Chargers will make it. I think the 49ers, I think they'll be a fringe team, right? I think they have to have a couple of games, and I think they will be a playoff team, but I could see it going the other way. The the Packers and the Bucks, I don't know. I mean, I think I think I would put the Bucks ahead of the Packers, just because the Bucks have the talent there, right?
Really? Okay.
They haven't had the real injuries, right? That some other teams have had, and they could get it going, right? They have the running game in Fournette. They have the wide receivers in Godwin and Evans. They have Julio Jones when he's healthy. They have the guy from Atlanta that I'm fumbling for his
Yeah.
name right now.
Gage. Yep.
Yeah, they have guys, right? And they have Tom Brady leading them. They have a solid core. Their defense is still good. So I don't have worries about them. The team I worry about the most is the Packers. That
Yeah.
offense has looked miserable. The defense still I think is playing well, but I, they don't. Rodgers doesn't have that chemistry, right? He doesn't have that safeguard that he had with Devontae Adams, and that's really killing him. You thought this
Yeah.
this offense would run through the run game and through those two backs and Dillon um
They were
and
both
then
bad. Dillon
Jones
and Jones.
and
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
12 carries,
so
38 yards total, 3.2 yards per carry. Aaron Rodgers, the 2 touchdowns, 194 yards passing, but Alan Lazard, first time not getting the touchdown. Aaron Jones saved his day with the 9 catches for 53 yards and the 2
yeah,
touchdowns. But yeah, I mean, he can't get any passing done. Yeah,
yeah.
10
I
targets for Aaron
mean,
Jones.
it's it's crazy that you would think that these, at least in my mind, right, these two teams would be the bottom of the barrel. You thought coming in this season,
Yeah,
right, that that Tom and the
Green Bay
Bucks would
division
be
and
a
Bucks division.
contender.
Both these
Yeah,
were both your
I mean,
division winners.
you'd think that maybe that the Vikings would potentially contend for that division,
Yeah,
but just the way that the Packers
show
have
some.
shown the past couple weeks, it just this. I think this is the first time they've had 3 straight losses in a couple years. I don't think since Rodgers played that they've had 3 straight losses like this.
Yeah, 2018.
So it's I mean, it's not looking good for both those teams. They had maybe the Packers. I know the trade deadline's coming up. Maybe they make a move for a wide receiver. Maybe
I
they
think
go
they
after
need to.
somebody that's in Carolina.
Yeah,
Get him a
DJ Moore.
get him a number
I
one
like
wide
it.
receiver. Yeah.
I do like it.
Or even sign
I
someone
think
like
Moore's
Odell.
long term. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, maybe you sign somebody like Odell, right? I know he's got
I would do
injuries and
both.
stuff like that,
I'd make the
but
trade and I'd go for Odell.
he's both guys prove that they have talent, and it's somebody that they could use, to turn the season around for them. I mean, they're only 3-4, right? Both teams, but
Yeah.
it's for both fan bases. It's looking scary.
Okay, quickly. Dak makes his return. He plays okay in the win. I mean, they didn't really need to do much. Detroit is terrible, 1-5. They're making it exciting on offense, but yeah, they're still god awful.
Yeah.
Pollard with a pretty good game. CeeDee Lamb, 4 for 70. Uh, the big showing once again. Joe Burrow and Cincinnati, 35-17 over the Falcons, a team that's very competitive. Joe Burrow, 481 yards, 3 touchdowns. All 3 of his big wide receivers were all over the score sheet. Mixon was running well, 70-58 with the touchdown. Burrow has his own rushing touchdown. Boyd, 155 yards on 8 catches for the touchdown. Jamar Chase, 2 touchdowns, 130 yards. T. Higgins, 5 for 93. He had 7 targets, which is good because he's starting to come back after having a little bit of injury issues. He gets the tight end involved. They're starting to turn, and they always talk about the turn and playing well into the playoffs. And this team, you could see in the beginning they were kind of floundering. Now the offensive line, I feel, is really coming to its own, and that's scary because if Joe Burrow gets time, he has 3 guys he can legitimately go to with the ball and be just competitive.
Yeah, I mean, it was an exciting game to watch. The only thing, and I know Atlanta kind of coming back a little bit. That's the only thing is, I like to see them, the defense wise, just close up a little bit. Not playing as loose. With Atlanta kind of coming back with the 17-28. I know it's still not close, but putting it within 9 points is still something. So, or 11 points.
Casey's ridiculous. Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, 423 yards. Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, 7 for 124, the touchdown. He throws a touchdown to Mecole Hardman, and then he also had the one to Justin Watson. He's ridiculous, and I feel bad for San Fran because they actually really did try. Baltimore gets the win, 23-20 over Cleveland. Lamar, 120 yards passing, but he has a pretty good day rushing the football, 10 for 59. But Gus Edwards had the 2 touchdowns, and they needed that kind of win, so that's good. All right, the other team, New York team, the New York Giants, 23-17 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Daniel Jones, 100 yards rushing. He was awesome in that game. 202 yards, the touchdown, the 107 rushing, and the other touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 24 for 110, still, a dynamic running back. Wan'Dale Robinson, 6 for 50. He was the most targeted at 8 receptions. Darius Slayton has the touchdown. On the other side, Travis Etienne looked really good, and that's why they were able to trade James Robinson, who I actually didn't think – I didn't see – he didn't even get a carry for Jacksonville this past week. So amazing. I'm sure James Robinson's very happy to be out of there. But 114 yards, the touchdown for Travis Etienne, who's starting to click with his quarterback. He also has another catch. Christian Kirk comes back with a good game, 7 for 96. Trevor Lawrence was okay. I mean, he had 310 yards passing, but just couldn't find the end zone. His quarterback rating was low. Daniel Jones is this team is it's amazing. They're doing so well with such limited talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things, right, is the play by Jones, right? He's giving it his all, but he's not turning the ball away. That's the big thing that killed this team, I think, last year. And in years prior when Jones has kind of had the helm is the amount of turnovers, right? The fumbles, the interceptions, more so the fumbles. But he's not turning the ball over.
Yeah,
And he's playing he's playing gritty, right? That's the big thing.
yeah,
He's still that game manager, but he makes plays being that game manager, which is something that
yeah,
you like to see. He's playing for his contract, right?
yeah.
He's trying to prove that he can be the
He
leading quarterback for a team.
they were trying to milk the clock, and he hands off, or what it was an option play where he looks to hand off to Saquon, and it was sleight of hand. It looked like he handed the ball off, and he comes around on
Mm-hmm.
the other side and gets the first down. It was an awesome play, and I definitely go back and take a look at the tapes. It was so his that read option is so good with him. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's playing really well. I'm pretty
and
impressed.
I say,
Um,
and the defense stepped up, great too. That last drive that
yeah,
Jacksonville had. I know I didn't like the pass interference call that they had on
nope.
Lawrence towards the end of the game. But I mean that goal line stop that they had, basically where I think it was Kirk, or he had that catch right near the end zone, and they were able to keep him out. It was, great job by them. Yeah,
All right. Quick week 8 slate. A little preview. Thursday night, you got Baltimore at Tampa, and it's a good. I mean, it's amazing. You can actually say it's a get right game for Tampa. I know they get the win, but another way to kind of boost their play. We'll see if Tampa can get this going. Tom Brady he really needs some help, especially offensive line and running the ball. Uh,
yeah.
any games specifically lead or look interesting to you?
I think obviously the Jets
Obviously,
Patriots, right? To
Jets
see
Patriots. Yeah.
to see what happens there, see how this team gets going around the new running back, the new if they do actually end up changing kind of their offense a little bit, or if they continue with the run game lead and go that route. I do think an interesting game too will be that 8:20 game, Packers Bills.
Yep.
Just because it's
Yeah.
does Green Bay
Rogers.
have the life? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can they make it interesting in Buffalo? Um, oof,
Not many great games, but I do like it. And this we talked about the two teams, San Fran at Chargers.
yeah,
We'll see which team could kind of sneak out of this little bit of funk they're on right now.
San
Uh,
Fran Rams.
sorry, yeah, I said Chargers, didn't I? Chargers are
Yeah,
on bye, I believe, right? Yeah, Chargers are on bye
hmm
along with KC. Sorry, yeah, Rams. Just because they're trying to both snap out a little malaise funk. And then that Arizona at Minnesota game, I don't know. Kyler gets the win last week, but uh, we'll see if Minnesota going after their bye.
hmm
Justin Jefferson in that rushing game, so that could be pretty interesting. Monday night, Cincinnati at Cleveland. I expect Cincinnati to get the win there. And then
yeah,
Green Bay, like you said, at Buffalo. I don't have hope for Green Bay. I really think that just Buffalo is that good, but if their
yeah,
defense can play, stay with them, and Rodgers can make some sort of plays, maybe they could do it. Yeah. We did talk about trade deadline. It is, I think it's in 2 weeks. Give me a second. I was just looking at it and then I blanked. It
November 1st.
was November 1st. Thank you. So less than a week. Um, or a little over a week. Next Tuesday, I do expect some trades to happen. I could see, or said apparently the Panthers rejected a massive NFL trade offer that included two
hmm
first round picks for a key defensive player. I guess they're talking about Brian Burns. I don't know who that would be from. Who's looking for a defensive end that much? That'd be interesting. But I
Did
do think that. Go ahead.
I say? Did you see the thing? I think it was Burns had like a sack or something, right? And after the sack, he got up and was like, trade me or something like that.
Really, I didn't see
Like
that.
yelled it to the camera, or like still trade me or something. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I could see Burns. I mean, if they took two first, they couldn't get him. That's crazy. But DJ Moore, I could see going. Maybe J.C. Horn. Uh, yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that they need to look at, getting as many picks as possible. Carolina, Chicago Bears. I know that they're not going to trade Roquan Smith, but they should listen, especially if they get something big.
Yeah.
I'd even say David Montgomery is someone, with Khalil Raymond, Khalil Herbert, where you could possibly get something for David Montgomery. I was actually worried the Jets were going to go after him. That would not have made me very happy.
Yeah.
Um, Edge rusher Robert Quinn's another name to go for. Denver Broncos. You think they're going to be trading? Look for it.
Right, 2-5 right now.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if they would want to deal anybody, or
Jerry
try to
Jeudy.
acquire anybody.
Could you see Jeudy
That
being
that
traded?
I mean, I would want a haul for him. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Bradley Chubb,
that'd
same
be
thing.
that'd be crazy to me. I feel like for the Broncos to trade him,
Yeah.
just having him and Sutton together, I think is a nasty pair. You still have Javante, obviously. Hopefully he comes back from the injury,
Yep.
healthy and strong as he's played. I don't know. That'd be interesting to see if they even tried that.
Yeah. Houston Texans, Brandon Cooks. That's another name I could see in Green Bay. It would be tough because I know he's got 18 million base salary in 2023, so that's they'd have
Hmm.
to do some gymnastics with that. Laramie Tunsil, obviously the best player, still friendly base contract for 2023. I actually, as the Jet fan, wouldn't be mind dealing something for him, especially if he could play left tackle
Hmm.
for next year too. So I'd like that if it was possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. Jets are going to kind of probably stay with what they have. Vegas Raiders, you think they're sellers at this deadline? Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Abraham, maybe Clelin Farrell, the defensive end.
I don't. It'd be interesting, right? Yeah, 'cause all three of those guys they didn't resign.
Yep,
Um, it'd be interesting to see if anybody was in the market for a running back, especially in Jacobs and being the bruiser that he is,
yeah,
running down the field and I mean Abrams too. Even with the
thumper.
injuries he's kind of had, has been a good player for them. So
Yeah,
interesting to see if somebody needs a safety.
and then lastly, depending on how this week. I mean, I obviously know. I think how I feel how this week's going to go, but could could the 49ers, could the Green Bay Packers be sellers?
Who do you sell? You gonna sell somebody like Jones?
So maybe Jones. I don't think they're going to trade. Um, I don't think they'd trade Corey Dillon. I mean AJ Dillon. Um,
Hmm.
Sammy Watkins, maybe.
But I feel like there's just better options out there, right? At wide receiver
Yeah.
potentially, or signing somebody like OBJ, right?
Yeah, and Green Bay could also add someone like maybe even to Green Bay. Pittsburgh, with where they are, maybe they trade like Chase Claypool, especially because they like
Yeah.
Pickens. They have Deontay Johnson. Buffalo Bills are pretty stacked. Like I'm sure they can make some small moves.
Hmm.
Colts, let's see what they do, and even KC, maybe they go after someone like LBJ, which there's some rumors about that. Maybe Melvin Ingram from how they did, with acquiring Melvin Ingram from Pittsburgh last year. They're not
Yeah.
shy to make moves. All right, let's get some trivia. We'll head out of here. Oh, Cam Akers is also available just because he is, but I could see the Rams trying to make moves to add pieces.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I don't think they, even though they haven't used him as much, it'll be interesting to see what they do right when his contract's kind of up and what they do with Akers and Henderson. If they rather keep Henderson, if they what they do with him. But
Yeah, they got the
um,
deal.
all right, so Patrick Mahomes leads the NFL in passing yards with 2,159 and passing touchdowns with 20 after putting up 423 yards and three scores against the 49ers in week 7. It was Mahomes' 8th career game with at least 400 yards and three touchdowns through the air. That's 5th most by any player since 1950. Can you name the 4 other quarterbacks to have at least 400 yards and three touchdowns through the air in a game?
Brady,
Yep. Brady has 10 of those games.
so he's in second or third.
Brady Brady's in fourth.
Oh, fourth. Okay. So 3 ahead of him. Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning is tied for second with 11.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees is number 1 with 12.
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino is tied with Peyton Manning with 11. Yep.
I mean, they're the 4 big quarterbacks, so it makes sense.
Yeah, right. So those 4 have played a combined 1,120 games, with Marino having the fewest with 242. Mahomes has reached the top 5 in 70 career games. Insane.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes is. I feel so bad for the Bears and the Texans looking at that they could have had. Not the Texans. Texans, because they got Deshaun Watson instead. So bad for those two teams.
Would Mahomes be Mahomes if he wasn't on the Chiefs?
I think he's. I mean, you never know, but I think he's that type of talent where that shines no matter where you are. Maybe he's not this upper echelon, but maybe he's like here. Like it's a step.
I mean, as much as I don't like Deshaun Watson, right, because of everything that has come out of him, I think the Texans did a pretty good job with him, other than, everything like that.
And then Mitch Trubisky and the Bears, enough said.
Yeah, just,
Everybody, talk to you next week. Enjoy the football slate. Enjoy the rest of Monday Night Football. This is Football Primetime.